everybody. Sorry. I don't know why I don't think I'm gonna make that my normal thing, but I kind of like having fun with that. Hope everybody's having a great day. My name is John Henry Soto, or great evening. Welcome to the JHS Show. So tonight we're gonna go into some really heavy real estate because some of you might know or you might not know. I am a real estate agent and have been since 2016, I think it was, or maybe 16. And I've had a great time. I met some great people. I have some great experiences in real estate. I learned a lot in real estate. I'm with the best broker in Bayonne and in the universe, Mr. Ben Costanza, with an amazing team of real estate agents. And I've been really blessed. Unfortunately, I haven't dove into as much as I know I can, because I have other interests and other adventures that I want to experience. But in the last couple of years, and especially the last maybe 6 months since I've been quarantined, I've been really working a lot on that, kind of learning a little bit more about what I'm going to do. So I've been kind of focusing a little bit more on real estate. So tonight, without further ado, I'm going to have my good friend, Mark Orlowski is back here. And of course, Mark has been on the show, on the last interview show, a couple of times. This is a different show. It's a different vibe. We're going to have a little bit of a different conversation, but we are going to talk about real estate, and we're going to have some fun. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the JHS Show, Mr. Mark Orlowski.
Hey, how you doing, everyone? Thanks, John.
How you doing, Mark?
Thanks to be back. Thanks for having me back.
Always, man. Always. You're my go-to guy when it comes to real estate and investing. Now, I do have to preface all this with the fact that we are not recommending anything to anyone. I have to say that. And this show is for entertainment purposes. Always make sure that anyone, if you're going to invest in anything, that you get a professional to help you out. And that is actually a very important thing to understand, that we are here to kind of just have a discussion about real estate. Now,
absolutely. And me and John can help you do that.
Right. Now, when it comes to real estate, we are professionals and we are licensed in real estate. So we can talk about real estate as much as we want. But if it comes to investing or anything having to do with investing from now and anything in the future, that's on you, or you meaning the audience. Just make sure you know what you're doing. So, Mark, I'm reading so much stuff about real estate that my head is spinning on what's happening. Real estate is always great, right? Because real estate is always going to go up. We all know that a piece of land on the planet is always going to be valuable. It may not be as valuable, yesterday as it is today, or maybe tomorrow, but it's always going to be a little bit more valuable as time goes on, right? And history has shown that real estate has made more millionaires and billionaires than anything else that you can imagine, right? That might change with the internet stuff in about 50, 60 years. But for right now, real estate is still king. In your professional opinion, how do you see real estate right now as far as where it was a year ago? I know you're still fairly new to real estate, but you've kind of like tackled it and you're like extremely experienced now because you really have done it full time for a very long time. What do you think is the market is now? Is it as good as it was pre-COVID, or is it getting there?
Mm-hmm. So before we get into that, I'm just going to touch upon my experience and my criteria. I was licensed back in 2017. I got licensed the year I turned 18. That's summer. My birthday's in May, so that's summer. Went right for it. Never regretted it for a second. I think getting a real estate license is amazing. Owning real estate's even better. But it's good to have your hands in all, pieces of the industry. But going back to what you said, John, comparing real estate today versus how it was, last year, it is, much in our market being Northern Jersey, Hudson County, specifically operating out of Bayonne, Jersey City, Hoboken, this area, where we specialize. The real estate's booming. Like we said on the last time I was on the show, it's incredible. The average 2-family, which is the hottest thing on the market, multifamily, is skyrocketed in terms of, the average purchase price has gone up 20%, which is amazing. But when you say how the market is, it really does depend. Are you buying? Are you selling? Are you renting? It depends on what you're looking to do. Are you looking to invest? So if you're a seller, look, I know everyone's a little nervous with COVID to let people in your house do showings. There's things to combat that, such as virtual showings. And, the market is so flooded with buyers. It's so intense. Bidding wars happening left and right. It's very possible to get top dollar now as opposed to last year with the amount of buyers that are in the market. FHA, investors, everyone is looking because, the Fed has done so many things to try and, keep this movement happening and keep the economy up with low interest rates and such.
Yeah. So that's been really an amazing thing. I mean, I read where houses are like flying off the shelves, so to speak, in record numbers in some places. Matter of fact, I had an article here. Let me just find it real quick, but it said it says homes in the U.S. during the second week of June typically stayed on the market for 22 days, and this is the fastest pace since 2018. Columbus, Cincinnati, Kansas City, the hottest markets right now, and the slowest moving markets are New York, Miami, and Atlanta. New York, I'm not surprised. Miami and Atlanta, I don't know enough about. So let's talk a little bit about the New Yorkers exiting New York and coming out here. Are you getting a lot of that? Because I mean, I hear about it, but
it's insane. It's insane. They're coming from all over of New York. I mean, it's funny because not funny, but New Yorkers, they seem to be leaving the packed inner city, trying to go to more suburban areas. Jersey's right across the water.
Yeah.
Very easy commute for most in case we do get pushed back to work sooner than we thought. People are finding that they can get more space for less rent here. People are also finding that the rent that they were paying in New York, they can own a home in a lot of parts of Jersey, which is incredible because now we're having buyers enter the market. And overall, that's another reason for the push of buyers that are coming over to our side in Jersey. Helping our market move forward, helping, sellers get top dollar, but overall just, moving the real estate economy.
Yeah. And these new buildings that have gone up here. I mean, I think there was a little bit of a concern at one point that can we fill these up, pre-COVID, right? Because that was the main thing.
Yeah, that was a big pushback.
Yeah. It doesn't seem like that's a wonder anymore, especially considering that some of these places are luxury buildings with all the amenities that you can imagine for some in some cases 50% cheaper than what you would get in New York for the same amount or even less size, smaller sizes. So New York now becoming the sort of target for a lot of people negatively, unfortunately, because I love New York. I'm from New York and I have family in New York. Do you think that this is something that's how long do you think this will go on? Because at some point it has to they have to, I get a little nervous because like how many we have right now, we have 65,000 people in Bayonne, New Jersey. It's not a big place, it's a small 3 miles, half a mile wide and 3 miles long. But do you get, are they coming over a little concerned that too many of them are coming over?
No, I mean, not at all. Honestly, to be completely honest,
we have the room. I mean, it's not.
Yeah, I mean, look, we have the room, we have the new apartments, and now we're narrowing down to Bayonne. But if you look across, all of northern Jersey, there is development happening across all markets.
Everywhere.
It's not just Bayonne that we do speak about. I know we experience it firsthand because we're from here, but it's happening in Jersey City, Hoboken. It's already happened to, so that's more the luxury New Yorkers will be finding apartments there. But yeah, no, I as far as how long it's going to happen, I mean, this is the What I Say show, right? So I could say, probably just until the election is up. But no, nonetheless, I mean, we've been experiencing New Yorkers come from New York into New Jersey just because they find the less expensive rents to be more favorable for them, their families. They can get more room, more bang for their buck overall. More space to grow their families. I mean, it just seems like for the average middle class American, it's more of a home feeling. They're coming to be able to do more of the things they like. and just expand. I mean, that's what we all like to do as humans is grow and expand. And that's what it seems like New Yorkers are finding so favorable to them on this side of the water.
Yeah. And so you mentioned something, I mean, just to transition a little bit away from the whole New York Exodus thing, but you mentioned a little bit about how they're now not just New Yorkers, but I guess anyone even in Hoboken, but generally New Yorkers, I think that's where the focal point is. But people that are coming in that are paying, whatever, $6,000 a month, $5,000 a month, which is pretty average on some of the building, pretty average anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Actually. Do you and now they can actually purchase a home? They're finding out that, right? So
Mm-hmm.
what is it? One of the things that you tell someone when they come in and they're looking for something, they have their budget is $4,000 to $5,000.
Mm-hmm.
In Bayonne, you can get a house, a really nice house for
Exactly.
that a month. Do you immediately go into that, or do you ask them what's your method?
Mm-hmm. Well, it all depends on the client that comes and expresses what their goals are, because as an agent, we have to, it's very important for us to, exercise and go through and really ask a ton of questions to whoever's coming over, whether it be they buy, they rent, whatever it is that they're looking to do. It may not actually be what's best for them.
Right.
And we learn that, through asking them questions, finding out what their goals are, what are their future goals, their, 1 year plan, 3 year plan, 5 year plan. Because if they say that they want to come in and rent, but their budget's $4,000, but along the way they're telling me about how her and her husband are going to be having kids, they want to stay in the area, they have great jobs. Then I say, well, look, why are we renting? Have you guys ever thought about owning a home where you pay into your own mortgage and you own something rather than rent and pay off someone else's debt? Then I could bring up those questions. But, again, it all goes through exercising questions, asking them what their goals are, because, right on the flip side of that, if someone's saying, oh, I don't really know if I'm going to be working at this job for too long. Honestly, my family's from Florida. I want to live in a nice place, but I don't know where I'm going to be in the next 2 years. Then, yeah, you have to rent. I mean, you're not going to own something because, like you said, I mean, real estate typically goes up. But I don't suggest anyone buying a owner occupant home today, this year, and saying maybe I'll sell it next year, because chances are you won't make all your money back in that short amount of time. But again, it goes back to the goals and what they're looking to do, and how they're looking to grow into their future.
Right, and really listening to the customer and making sure you ask the proper questions is always a key thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I mean, I think right now, with what's happening, a lot of people are also, there's certain uncertainties in even if they do have good jobs that they like.
Of course, in the job market, for sure, absolutely. People don't know.
Right.
They don't know if they're going to be at the same job tomorrow, next month. There's just, like you said, a lot of uncertainties.
Yeah.
So, that plays a big role. That plays a huge role.
Yeah.
Others, they feel more comfortable. And again, that also has, to go into getting a loan and getting approved for a loan. If you have a job and you're going for a loan and then you get laid off from a job, you won't be approved for that same loan. And then we go back to the renting idea.
Right. So now when somebody comes in with a budget of, like, they've been paying $5,000, they're looking for something in that price range in Bayonne. I mean, we don't have anything that's $5,000.
The best.
What's the maximum apartment that you get? 25, 26 maybe?
Yeah, I mean, I would direct them probably to one of the more luxury buildings. If they're paying $5,000 a month rent, they're probably used to a little bit more luxury style.
I don't know about that. I've seen some of these places in East Village and in West Village and in Williamsburg. Those places demand a good $4,000 for really, really small places. They just happen to be in a place that people, I guess, want to be in, or wanted to be in, I should say. Do you ever struggle with that part of it? Like, do they think that, well, those luxury buildings that we have here in Bayonne are really, really amazing.
Yeah, they're beautiful. They'll come with the parking, the gyms, the rooftops, the pools, whatever you need. Some of them do, some of them don't.
Yeah, they're really nice.
Right on top of the light rail.
Yeah, and I think that anyone will be really happy to be there. in any of these buildings. But have you ever run into somebody who's, expecting more?
That's a good question. Honestly, I haven't, but that's actually a good question. I haven't yet, but maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because sometimes people become, well, we paid 5,000, but we had this and we had that, and it's like, well, you're.
Well, then I would revert that back to, seeing what their future goals are and saying, well, if you had this and this for 5,000, what if I can offer you more for probably half the price if you just went and owned a home,
Right.
between the mortgage, the taxes, and insurance, you won't be paying in a lot of homes, the average you'll pay under $3,000 a month in
Right.
Just expenses for your home. And if you get a 2-family here, you own the home, you can have rents that'll help pay down the debt, because it's a strong rental market here. But that's probably what I would revert back to. I don't think I would be able to find them everything they're looking for if, the luxury buildings weren't enough. I would revert back to trying to find maybe the proper home if it aligns with their future goals.
Yeah. So let's talk about real estate agents, because there seems to be a boom in real estate agents. That never worries me, because it never really, a real estate agent is sort of like a, it's sort of like a personality, right? It's it's a talk show host in a sense, but not in the negative sense. But it's a personality, right? And so you could have lots of agents come into the market, but a lot of those agents are coming into the market for very different reasons than we did, right? I came into the market, into real estate because of Ben Costanza, right? I was doing a lot of work for him on videos and social media stuff. And he just kept talking to me about it. And then one day I just broke down and said, I'll get my license. Why not? And it was the best decision I ever made. And I'm happy I did that. But other people, they see, oh, well, the market is really good. Real estate is great. You can make your own hours. And right before we got on the show here, you were just telling me how, John, I'm sorry, because, we were doing a little phone tag and but I was been so crazy. And I know you don't work 9 to 5, dude. I know you don't work 5 days a week. It is a daily grind if you really want to be successful at it. So I think that a lot of agents, and I want to open up this discussion for newer agents or anybody that's considering becoming an agent. What are some of the important elements that you need to understand? So give me one, a couple of them, or just give me what you think is the most important thing that a real estate agent needs to understand coming into or somebody who's just considering doing it.
And I'm sure this is going to sound very cliche, but one of the top things I can say, and
people person,
yeah, no, not even that, but it's more of a lifestyle, and in the sense that I was lucky that it dawned on me to get my license when I was 18. Granted, I knew 18. I knew nothing about real estate. I was probably the youngest kid sitting in class, and when they said the word mortgage, I'm like, what's that? I had to literally learn every single thing about it, every little intricate detail, because we're helping people with their personal lives. I mean, someone selling their home is probably going to be the biggest transaction of their lifetime, or purchasing a home, on both ends of the spectrum. It's going to be the biggest transaction of their lifetime in most cases. So I really have to, to me, I immediately feel some type of overwhelming feeling like I have to make sure that this person gets from A to Z, and not a single detail, not a single, walk along the way is going to be interrupted with a problem. And if it is, I have to know how to tackle it. And there's a million problems that come up. I mean, there's so many problems that'll come up during the sale of a piece of real estate that, they don't teach you in real estate school. They teach you the very, very basics. So that's one, it's a lifestyle. You have to be committed to learning, and it's going to take a long time. Step 2 is it's going to take forever. It is what it's going to feel like. Before you really get your legs underneath you and get moving, the average, and now this is just from my own, talking with other agents, my own experience, on average, it takes around 2 years before you really get that source of income, that consistent source of income coming in. You have to do it 2 years full-time consistently. So what that means is you have to have some reserves in the bank. If you're doing this later in life, if you're in your 30s with kids and 40s, maybe, your late 20s and you want to settle down, I say just make sure you have something to fall back on in terms of reserves in the bank, just so that, if when you get frustrated that you haven't, maybe closed your first deal yet, or maybe you close one, but it's another 2 months before you close your second, you have something to live off of, and you're not eating beans out of a can forever.
Right.
Because it is a struggle to get the first closing you'll have is the most rewarding feeling of the lifetime, because you completed something that felt impossible.
And you look at it, I remember thinking, and the amount of work and stuff, it was a lot, but it was worth it because you actually did it.
Exactly. And it's amazing, but they don't come very often until you get your legs underneath you. You learn how to prospect correctly. You learn how to get on the phone, and you have to be strong and demand some things. And, it's just an overall, a full lifestyle change. And you have to train yourself in the way you speak to people, professionals and clients. And, it's overall, it's a very overwhelming change in terms of job, because, you're probably not going to be used to getting calls at 8:30 at night from your clients, or, Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. But it happens every weekend, every day.
Open houses and
of course. So you have to be really committed to that. But, if you're committed consistently, persistently, and you're disciplined on the other end, it'll most likely end up being favorable for you. And, after a certain amount of time, you get a couple closings, you get your legs underneath you, you feel confident, you'll be able to continue, growing in the real estate industry as an agent.
Yeah. And when you're first starting out, I think it's also important that you have obviously a good leader, somebody that can point you in the right direction and can be there for you to answer questions.
Oh, absolutely.
And those kinds of things. Ben Costanza certainly is that for us. And but not just that, but there were other people as well in the office that were, as well as veteran agents that were really helpful, and that's one of the things that I kept hearing about, which we don't have in our office, but you hear about it in other offices where there's real estate agents that are kind of, battling each other, or there's weird
very
kind
competitive. That's another thing.
Very competitive. Yeah.
You're thrown into a shark pool and you're on your own. Once you get your license, that's it.
Right.
You're ready to go. You can sell a house. You can help someone buy a house.
Right.
So once you're licensed, that's really it. That's another thing. That's step 3. Once you get your mindset prepared on what it's going to be like, even though it won't fully be prepared, you're going to have to go through the exercises of day to day to really feel confident in everything you're doing. But finding a strong leader, like you said yourself, and with Ben, Mr. Costanza, when I was 18, he taught me how to actually go get my license. That was another thing. I didn't even know where to go. So I had a meeting with Ben. He set me up with a great school, the Professional School of Real Estate, or Professional School of Business in Millburn. They licensed me. They were amazing to deal with, great teachers. But if it wasn't for Ben, I probably wouldn't be where I am today. Most likely 99% sure I wouldn't, because I was 18, I got licensed, and he said, you don't want to go out there and make a fool of yourself. Just follow me around. So, if you're going to get licensed, it wouldn't be a bad idea to maybe hold on to your part-time job or your, work part-time on the side, and just find a good leader, find a good teammate, find someone that'll help you, because there's very few in the industry. It's very competitive. Agents in the same office compete for listings. They compete for, to be the top producer in their office. So, it's hard to find someone that'll help teach you, but, it's very important that you will find someone that will help, because, there's so many unknowns that can go wrong if you just went out there on your own. And I just think it's important to go out there, find someone that's experienced, that can help walk you through the steps. I tagged along with Ben everywhere he went, on his listing appointments, when he sat down with attorneys, everywhere. I just learned how to talk to clients, how to write up paperwork, how to deal with objection, and so on and so forth. So if it wasn't for that, I probably wouldn't be, as knowledgeable, or as, feel as confident as I do. And that's the best thing, that this company has been able to provide me is the knowledge of real estate.
Yeah.
In a full.
Yeah. And it's very interesting, because we don't seem to have that in and not to say that there aren't issues because every office has their issues, but it doesn't. One thing that we don't have in our office is like the uncomfortable competitiveness. Like you and I, like I'll call you and tell you, can you do this listing, or can you do this? And you can always call me, obviously. it's sometimes it's a little difficult for me because I have I never feel like if I go to somebody in the office and tell them, can you call this person for me and help me with it, that they're going to take it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, it doesn't even occur to me, but right now when you said it, how competitive is in other offices and competing for listings, it would never occur to me that would be part of the problem in our office. So I think we're blessed in the sense that we don't have that,
Oh, absolutely.
At the same time, it is because we're a smaller office, and I think we're more of a family than anything. I think that's always a plus in my opinion. That's a plus. Plus, we're getting a new space, which I don't know. Can we talk about that now? I think we can, right?
I think we're good to talk about
it. It's out of the bag, right? And I know you're right now in a temporary location. It looks like an episode of Barney Miller.
We're in the war room over here.
You don't know what Barney Miller is, but it's a show from the 70s. Anyway.
That's why I made my own joke.
Yeah, so you're in the war room. Yeah, so it is kind of like a war room, right, temporarily. But the other place is getting renovated. It's going to be beautiful and right in the heart of Bayonne, New Jersey. So that's going to be a really exciting thing. And I wanted to talk a little bit about. So that was great, by the way. Thank you, because I think that's going to help a lot of people that have been kind of thinking about real estate and possibly dabbling with the idea. I think that's going to be very helpful for them. What do you think is no, actually I want to talk about video and social media and that whole world. It's a little bit intimidating for a lot of people, especially when they come in from another side of social media, right? Because there's the social media side of it where you're taking pictures of you and your friends at a club, or taking photos of your food and posting a nice meme or a funny or whatever. That's like social media as well. And then there's this other side of it where it's for business, where you sort of have to kind of clean up your act in a sense, right? Like your stuff is out there, right? I mean, so if anybody
no private pages, everything,
right? Yeah. So if anybody's gonna hire Mark and they're gonna say, well, let me look up Mark, and your Facebook page pops up, and they go to your Facebook page, and you have stuff on there that's weird, or that's like you're just a party guy, and you know what I mean. It's going to make it's going to reflect a lot on whether you're going to pull in that client or not, right?
And trust is a big trust plays a huge role in hiring someone to be your agent. I find that 99% of the situations that someone doesn't, that someone's objecting me, or in any case scenario where if an agent were to go get the listing, it's a rapport. They haven't built enough a better strong enough relationship, I should say. There's a little bit of distrust there. The client's not really trusting everything that they're hearing or believing in it. Not because they feel like they're being lied to, but it's just it's a conversation thing, and you got to work up a nice relationship before you can earn a client.
Right. I think the trust is really the number one thing, I think. And that's with everything, really. Anything, even when you're doing a show like this, people, you want people to come here because they trust that you're going to provide some value to them.
Of course.
And when you're doing
when you're going to get a haircut, I trust that my hair.
You trust that you're going to come out with hair. So that's always like an important thing. So, and that's one of the things that I really like about Ben Costanza, because I trust him. I trust that he's going to tell me. And I mean, Ben and I are sort of like brothers in a sense now, at this point. So we've had serious conversations on stuff where maybe we disagreed on certain things, you know what I mean? But he was never really afraid to give me his perspective, and, and vice versa. So I think that actually made it a very good, trustworthy relationship and business working relationship. So let's talk a little bit about that social media part again. The video part. How important is? Because 5 years ago I knew video was going to be the most important thing in real estate, and blah, 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 blah. That's what I kept saying, and it did come true. It is important. Do you think it's still as important today as it was a couple of years ago?
Oh, absolutely. It's more important, if anything, with COVID going on. There's a ton of I've especially, more so in the beginning of COVID, but still even up to now, agents are previewing homes for their clients just to not get them in the door right away, make sure it's something that they like. So you do a lot of that with video, virtual walkthroughs. I mean, technology as a whole has come a long way, and it's only been able to add the tools to the toolbox for us agents to help sell our listings, to help provide more information to buyers and potential tenants. And, just as a whole, it's provided so much value to the industry, to both the sellers and buyers, the consumers, and on the other side, the agents who are trying to market the properties. Because a lot of times being an agent, you're not really an advisor. You're not really, just an agent. You're also 90% of it is marketing.
Yeah.
The beginning portion is all marketing. I mean, how well can I market your listing? How well can I get you in the door as a buyer? And a lot of it just spread throughout Facebook, Instagram. I mean, I see it all over my feed just through, a lot of it has to do with what I watch and what I'm interested in, but, I get it constantly through advertisements, through Facebook, emails, sending me advertising emails saying, look at this listing from Zillow, so on and so forth. But video and the whole technology industry as a whole, the whole tech industry as a whole, has just played such a huge role in moving this whole real estate industry forward.
And not just that, but I feel also that the technology, because we had this real estate and people were talking about this video technology and connecting and stuff, but then there was this video media company world that was trying to bridge the gap between them. And I feel that for a long time, it was like you had to grab your big camera, take pictures and all this stuff, and then go and edit it. And it seems like it finally bridged now, where there's like these amazing apps that you can get that take these great photos, that piece them all together into a nice little format thing, music over it, and all through your phone, you can put out these amazing little videos that they're not going to win awards, but they're going to definitely reflect the video, the home, and it's going to actually give the client a pretty nice presentation. There's a ton of these apps now that I've seen that just do really, really great work. And it's put my stuff out of business basically, because, we used to do nice videos and then we put music, but we would have to come in and edit it and upload everything. And that was kind of a pain in the ass, so now everything's been kind of bridged with these nice apps and stuff. Do you think, is it easier for you now than it was? Because I know you use a lot of videos for the homes and stuff. I want to ask you a question based on that afterwards, but how is it for you on just the presenting of the home?
So, look, for me personally, I can only speak for myself. It's an amazing tool, and you need an agent that has to, recognize what the market is doing. And when I say that, I mean that, I believe it's about 80% of home buyers, if not more, find the home that they're going to purchase through the internet, whether that be video they saw, whether that be through someone that
it used to be 92%. I remember.
Yeah. That's the thing. I think what I read was like 85%. So, something like that, something along those lines. But that just shows the overwhelming majority is looking on the internet for homes. So what does that tell us? That means that we have to market your home online if I'm looking to list it. So going back to your question, does it make it easier for me? No, I've never found myself to be tech savvy. I've never been able to conquer the social media. John, me and you have had so many personal conversations about how I'm afraid to put myself out there on Instagram. I can't even take a selfie of myself. But
you've been getting better though. You've been getting better.
I'm doing a little bit better. You got me on the show 3 times, so that's doing, it's a step in the right direction. But the tech has made it so much easier for a lot of agents. But as an agent, you're your own business. That's another thing. That's going back to if you want to be an agent. You're your own business. You have to treat it like your own business. You have to work like it's a business. And that comes with the challenging questions of what do I outsource in terms of work? And, I was never tech savvy. I think it's going to probably my opportunity cost is going to be greater if I spend my time with my strengths and being on the phone, trying to make connections with people. Whereas I can just actually have someone go take the video, like you said for yourself, have someone go take the video and put together, the nice pictures, slides, a collage, all, they can do it and send it to me and I'll pay them for it because, you know, if I've tried to do it on my own, I spend about 5 hours, 6 hours on one listing. And, you know, in that time, it's just, you know, time is wasted. So I outsource a lot of the tech videos, pictures that I do. You know, but that's just me. A lot of other people are a little bit more talented with it than I am, and good for them. You know, but like that's in every business, you know, strengths, weaknesses, you gotta all lay it out on the line and, you know, balance it out.
And I think that also the if it's not cost effective to do it, spending 5 hours on a video is just not really a smart thing to do, because you have other things you got to get done. But because of the apps and the technology, I know it's gotten a lot easier to actually do those for agents. But one of the things that I've always go back to, and I will always say that, and you know this, it's always going to be personality. It's always going to be that person that, and that's why I was always encouraging, and I'm still encouraging you, that to get in front of the camera, because first of all, here you are speaking, you're a great speaker, you know what you're talking about, you're confident, you're articulate, you actually can communicate. You have you're sincere. You know, this is the butter up Mark the butter up Mark segment of the show. But you have like these abilities, so I'm always thinking to myself, you know, and I know I've met thousands of people in my life, right? And especially when it comes to social media, and you sit in front of somebody, you can pretty much tell, okay, you know what, maybe you might have to outsource this, because, you know, I'll talk to somebody and they'll be like, yeah, I mean, I think that it's gonna be really fun, you know, if I, you know, and if they're talking like, it's gonna be really difficult for them to get out there in front of the camera, you know, and if they're not animated and stuff, and really just passionate about what they're doing. But I think that that's always going to be the king. You know, it's having a camera in front of you and saying, "Hey, everyone, Mark here. Welcome to this home, and I'm going to give you a tour right now. Stick around. You're going to check it, you know." And then you go in and you give them an actual tour while you're talking, and you put that out there as part of as just part of the marketing tool, right? Because at the same time, you can't just rely on. And I always say this: you can't rely on social media for everything. You have to do the phone calls. You have to do the face to face. Right now with COVID, it's a little bit different, but you know, as far as I'm concerned, it's always going to be that person, because that's what it was before. You know, I mean, Ben Costanza is successful because of Ben Costanza going out and talking to people and taking those meetings on and traveling and going here and going there. You know what I mean? He put himself in the position because that was what the way it was done back then. That still works today. And now we have added tools, which are the social media, the you know, even print still works. You know what I mean? It's hard to get the ROI of print, but you know, if you put an ad out, people are going to see it, you know, or a billboard or whatever whatever kind of thing. So I think
there's always going to be a invaluable connection through, you know, face-to-face contact. There's always just going to be a little special connection that nothing else, social media, no tech will ever be able to take over, because that's just human nature. And like you said, putting the camera in front of yourself, in front of your face, and giving that actual tour, that's another way to get, in a sense, face to face with just more people.
Right, because I think it does give an idea of who this person is, you know, especially if you're coming in sincere and you're kind of showing the place and talking. Then in their minds, they're like, when they call somebody and when they finally meet you, they're like, oh, that's the guy from the video. I remember he did a really nice video. That's the reason, you know what I mean? They kind of already know you to a certain degree, and it makes it makes the conversation a little bit easier right off the get-go. So I think, you know, and I know, you know, Ben and I have gone through this before. You know, I've forced Ben. Ben doesn't need social media, right? I mean, he's Ben is is real estate in Bayonne himself, right? I mean, he is real estate in Bayonne. But I always said, you know what, you just to recruit people, you know, just for recruitment purposes, he should be out there more. You know, he should be taking more video stuff, and I put him on a lot of stuff. I've, you know, edited little films with him and stuff, interviews. He's been on my show as well, because I think it's important that people really know the personalities behind the business. That, like you said, that's going to be the most expensive purchase that they make in their lives. You know, and what better way than to really put yourself out there and to be more of a personality that they can actually identify with, through a video and then eventually through a face-to-face conversation. So that's my little speech to you, Mark. I want to see more videos
Yeah.
of you do.
Hopefully the audience wants to see more videos.
Yeah. Oh, they do. Trust me. Trust
Yeah.
me. I think people are. I mean, listen. It's what this whole social media thing. I mean, let's break topic for a second. Like for me, do people want to see my face every few days come on their screen and do a show? Probably not. But there are some people that do. You know what I mean? And if there's like 1,000 people and 100 of them like me, I'm gonna do my show for those 100 people, right? So like if there's 1,000 people looking for homes, and you can actually confront 100 of them, or even half of those, and 100 like you, you know what I mean? It's a numbers game.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
is a numbers game, and it's just another tool to get out there. I've used these numbers before, but I think they're always relevant when we're talking about numbers. Like when I came to Bayonne and I reached out to 213 businesses, right? That's what I
Mhm.
did. I came here and I went on Facebook and I reached out to 213 businesses. Out of those 213, 31 of them got back to me, right? Just actually got back to me. Out of those 31, I met with like 12, and out of those 12, I got meetings with out of the 31s, I got 12 meetings. Out of the 12 meetings, I got to work for four of them, right? Ben Costanza being one of them, right?
Mhm.
Here we are because of that, because of those phone calls I made. So you have to kind of like look at the numbers and know that if you put yourself out there consistently a lot, you're going to create an impact, especially if you're sincere, especially if there's sincerity. So, and I think you have that. So anyway, that's my little spiel. But
Thank
so
you. Thank you.
yeah, of course. So let's talk a little bit about the future, your future, right? Because I mean, you're young, so you have a tremendous future ahead of you, and you have so much more stuff that you're involved in, like stocks and stuff like that. Um, are you considering becoming a broker at some point?
In real estate,
Yeah.
uh, probably not. Maybe, I don't know where I'll be 5 years from now. I really like working with a team, and I really like working with the Costanza team. So for now, I say 100%. I'll always be here.
Mhm.
But it may be something just that I want to achieve, just to say I did it. Who knows? I definitely don't think I want to open up my own brokerage, independent brokerage, and be the broker for 30, 50 agents in an office. There's a lot of responsibility with that.
That seems exhausting.
Yeah, and I don't know if it aligns with my goals, but growing a team is for sure. With growing a team with the team we already have established is
Mhm.
without a doubt the direction that we want to move in, and I want to move in as
You
well.
you have a great team there. What's one of the things that you look for? Do you recruit? Have you been recruiting, or have you
Yeah,
considered?
I mean, we're always willing to recruit, and we're always willing to hire or take on new talent and new ambition, because that's how you grow, and that's how you expand. Always looking to do those things, always looking to recruit. It's just not every day or every time you have a meeting with someone that you intended to recruit that they either match with the personalities on the team, or they match with their ambitions and their goals in the future. And you have to be very, very selective with who you accept to bring onto a team, and that's for any team. I mean, in sports, I'm a very competitive guy. I played sports my entire life, and there was always the saying. Um, there was always the saying. There's always for a lack of a better term, cancer in the locker room. They say,
Yeah.
if there's 30 guys on a team and there's just one guy that hasn't bought into the system, that spreads to everyone on the team.
Sure.
That negativity spreads very quickly to everyone on the team, and that's how you lose track of your goals. And that's very similar to being on a real estate team. If you have one person that's not complying, they're not following the goals and the ambition and the work ethic, then it doesn't destroys the entire vision.
Yeah. Also, if they're
So
just assholes like that,
yeah,
like my thing is just like just don't be an asshole. I mean,
yeah,
come on. You want to try to work with like people that when you walk into, like, for instance, like in the office right now, the way it is, um, when any of our agents walk into the office, it's always a joy to see them.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? That's very, very good feeling to have. You
Yeah,
know.
absolutely.
So what's something that, like, if you so obviously you want to create a team also because you have that ability as a real estate agent. A lot of people don't know that if you are, if you want to come into a real estate agent, you can actually create a group, right? You can create your own group.
Yeah.
It is your business.
There's so much potential in the industry.
Yeah, and there's always, like, so if you did want to create a group and you recruit people, you train them, and that's always a great thing. What do you look for in somebody? What's one of the first things that you look for if you're thinking of recruiting somebody?
They can't have the word can't in their can'ts. They can't have the word can't in their vocabulary, if that makes sense. Someone that's not typically shy, or someone that could just sit outside their comfort zone for a little period of time without having to crawl back in. That's the number one thing. I mean, getting out of your comfort zone is a very key element to becoming a successful real estate agent, because
anything,
like you said, I mean, you called 231 businesses, only 31 of them got back to you. You have to be able to knock on, 100 doors and have 90 of them slammed in your face and still be willing to knock on that 101st door. Right. In your first time cold calling, you're going to have people hanging up on you constantly. You're going to have people saying, I'm never leaving my house. I'm never going to sell, when you call and ask them if they were interested.
Right.
You have to have that attitude and be a little rough on the outside. But at the same time, you still have to be professional and very elegant when you speak and just professional in all areas. But you have to be willing to sit outside your comfort zone and do the things that other agents or other people aren't willing to do, because that's just how you become successful in pretty much in any job.
Anything, really, yeah.
You have to be able to get out of your comfort zone and do the things that you wouldn't normally do every day.
Yeah. And it always amazes me because people don't realize that when you get your real estate license, you're done.
Yeah, you're done. You're ready to go.
You can actually sell. You could sell a $100 million home anywhere in New Jersey.
Yep.
To a rental. You know what I mean? It's like like Ben told me when I first got my license. He's like, it's a license to kill. You go out and just kill. You go out and just kill them. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Because it's really that quick. And I got my license in. Another thing is, I don't know how long it took you, but it took me, I think, in 2.5 weeks, I had my license. I think I did. No, it was a little bit more. It was like 3 weeks. I had 1 week of the class where I studied, then 1 week of the reviews, and then I had to take the test at the end of that week, of the second week, to pass the class. Once I passed the class, I scheduled to take my real estate, which was the following week.
Yeah.
Went in and took the real estate.
Maybe I'll walk through our viewers on that in case anyone was interested in getting their license, what the process is. I mean,
yeah, do that. We got some time.
Typically, you want to quickly, I'll go over it quickly. You want to, I would say, meet with a brokerage first, start interviewing brokers to see who you would feel comfortable working with, see what advice you get from them, because if you've never been in the industry before, you'd rather have advice from someone who was.
So you're saying do that before you even get your license?
I would do it. That's what I did. And I think it worked out perfectly. I was able to be given heads ups and what to look out for, what to, find important in the class and
see if you want to do it, right?
Exactly. Of course, because you do have to spend money before. I think to enroll myself in the class was about $600. You get your textbook, you get, your seat in the class. Mine was 4 weeks. Mine wasn't. I know you did the crash course in a week. You could do that. That's much more. I'm
old, and I figure I don't got time to be like, I gotta get this.
Yeah, that's much more strenuous on the brain for me.
It is very strenuous.
So I did mine in 4 weeks, where I showed up from 9 to like 2 p.m. with a lunch break in between. That was the 4-week class where you go through all the modules, all the chapters. You learn about mortgages. You learn about the laws. What an easement is, everything, vocabulary from A to Z in the textbook, you learn it. And then you go ahead and you take the school test, which I was at the Professional School of Business. They have a test to say that you passed. I passed that on the first try. Thank you. And then once you pass that test, you have to go on and take your state test, which is where you really get which is the hardest test. They actually say New Jersey is one of the hardest states to get licensed in for real estate. It's so diverse. They ask the test is about 100 questions. You have to get at least an 80%, I believe it was, on it.
Yeah.
Correct.
I felt that I was very prepared because of the class. I mean, like again, it was a crash course, and I hadn't been in school in 20 something years. So I even when I first sat down for the first time, I was like, oh shit,
Yeah.
like this don't look right. Why am I sitting down here? But once I got realized it and I started studying, I met Frank at that class and stuff, and we studied together a couple of times just to try to help each other. 'Cause we were both older guys going back to school. So, but when you find, when you really take it seriously, and I did, that to me is the key thing. And I would add this to what you're actually giving us right now, as far as getting, the process is like really take it seriously. You know what I mean? Like you tell your family, which is what I did. I told my wife, I was like, look, I'm gonna be doing this test. I need to study from this time to this time every night. I need to know this stuff. You know what I mean? I don't want to like not pass this test, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, you do get other chances if you do pass. If you fail the test. I mean, you can take it a billion times if you pay for them, right? But still, you don't want to do that. So
Yeah.
I took it very seriously, and I sat there and I did that every night. I studied. I studied with Frank a couple of times, and I felt very prepared because I made the decision to be serious about it and to really
Mhm.
do it. You know what I mean? I think that that's one of the elements that people really need to have if they're going to start, interviewing brokerages, which I think they don't really understand either. You're saying they should interview,
Oh yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So
They
talk
have to
about
do
that
the
a little
interview.
bit. Why is that such a thing?
I mean, it's because every brokerage is different. The way they lay out their commission structures is different. The way they do their admin work is different. Their fees are different. Everything, the culture, most importantly, is different, and that's you have to be comfortable with where you're going. You don't want to go to, just some brokerages that you can go to. I mean, Costanza, of course, is one of them. But we're an independent brokerage. I mean, you have the franchises that are like KW and Exit and Sotheby's. So you have tons of actual brokerages that you can go to that are have multiple locations, but they have a different culture. And
Right.
there's
I was gonna say they're all different. It's like what like I like Costanza's because it was an independent.
mhm.
And even though when I first got there, it wasn't independent. It was another brokerage, but it was still sort of like independent. You know what I mean? It was still like it was sort of like the Ben Costanza crew.
Mhm.
And I really like that for me. That was my like I couldn't. I think I would get lost or not really lost, but when you go to a big one of those big brokerages that have like 1,000 agents.
Yeah, it's everyone for themselves.
Yeah, it's so hard, man. It's just like I can't even imagine that.
Mhm.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No. That's just another thing. I mean, you have 100 agents that are all sharks, and
Right,
no one can touch their client, and you don't ask them for help, and they don't ask you for help, type of thing. And there's people that prefer that.
right.
There's top producers that love it. They'd rather be on their own with no responsibility. I prefer. I'm growing. I'm still learning. You always have to have that mindset. So I like the team aspect of the Costanza group
Right.
that we have going on here. With Maria, Cindy, Julia, everyone in the office as a whole. I know for a fact that if I had a question about a piece of paperwork that had to get signed, or I wasn't really sure about something, I can always call up Ben. I can always call up Maria, who does a lot of the
With
admin work.
confidence.
Of course, and just ask them, say, hey, have you come across this before in any of your deals? And they'll say, yeah, actually, this did come up once before. We had to do this, but you just check it, try and do this, check this out. And it's a teamwork thing. It's a very friendly thing, and they don't look to get any compensation from me asking them for help, and I don't look for it on vice versa. So
Right.
like you said, that's what we both very much enjoyed about the independent brokerage is it was a little bit more relaxed.
Mhm.
Whereas, I'm still rooting for my team to go close that deal that they have, and they're rooting for me. So, it's good that we both have each other all behind us in terms of pushing you forward and helping each other grow.
Yeah. Um, that's awesome. Now I have some questions here from Matt. Predictions analysis on residential and commercial real estate in New York. Is office space dead? Warehouse logistics sector growing aggressively? Well, I did read something recently that there was Matter of fact, I have a video here that I'm going to show in a little bit. What's the prediction regarding commercial multifamily in Manhattan? Well, I mean, we're in New Jersey, so we don't really know a lot about what's happening there per se. We do know that a lot of people are coming over here from there, but other than that,
I do have some friends that are in real estate in the city. They have a ton of listings right now, whereas we have lower inventory in our market and a ton of buyers. They are actually sitting with a ton of listings.
right.
So it's a little vice versa. The predictions of the future, that's tough to say. I'm for one that says New York will probably always be New York. There's a little gap in the demand right now, but I think it should fill back up quickly. Office space. I mean, you have some companies saying they're never going to go back to work, like Twitter. There's a few of them. Twitter's the only one coming to my head right now. But then you also have JP Morgan, who actually just 2 weeks ago, I believe it was, ordered all their workers back to the office. So you have some people that want to continue, some people that don't. I think we'll find ourselves back in the office eventually.
Yeah.
As far as the commercial sector is hurting big, though. Commercial sector is hurting very, very big.
It is. Let me show one quick thing here. That's your buddy right there. Hold on a second. So this is an interesting thing. This has a little real estate in it. That's the only reason I'm showing it. Is not for any other reason, but it just happens to start off with this guy. So
New Yorkers take on challenges all the time, and we overcome them.
But there are troubling signs of more challenges the city faces. More than 5,000 businesses closed since March. The number of people shot up by a staggering 84% compared to last year. And real estate sales stalled. The number of homes on the market up 87% in Manhattan. Headlines declaring New York City dead forever.
So New York will come back on some level, but it's not going to have that magic that I wanted to pay so much money to live there for.
After 25 years in the city, Lori Cheek, a 47-year-old dating app creator, packed up and moved home to Louisville, Kentucky, initially to live with her parents, now in her own place with no regrets.
I did it, and I was in New York City through 9/11 and Sandy and the recession.
all right, I don't want to go into all of that.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to show the real estate that how, what Matt was saying. Let me lower this. There's a lot of listings. Like you said, your buddy have a lot of listings there. And it is something that I think that it's probably not going to take a week, to recover.
Some time.
It's going to take some time. I think right now what happened to New York is unprecedented, and I think that it's not something that can just recover so easily. Now, with office space, I mean, right there, over 5,000 businesses will not reopen again. So that tells you how much office space is going to be available.
Mm-hmm. That's not a small number either.
That's huge. That's
really not a small number, and it kind of seems small for some reason when you think about it. 5,000. It's when you talk in terms of New York,
but you don't know
small, but you don't know how big that actually is until you drive and come down the line and you're starting to see all of the vacant storefronts.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty wild. Do you believe the interest rates have assisted the residential market? Absolutely. I think are happy with the Fed's low rates in the near future. I mean that is definitely a big part of it, right?
Yeah, they're talking about keeping them this low until 2023 with with backing mortgage securities. They're trying. Look, I mean, it's all gonna. I think in the coming months we're gonna have a little bit better predictions on the future. Come after November, if that makes any sense.
Gee, what's happening in November?
That's just my personal opinion. I've been holding off a lot of my predictions on what's going to happen in terms of commercial real estate, residential real estate in a whole, and a lot of specific markets really based on the election. Not to talk politics, but I think it does play a huge part in what happens, and what's soon to come.
Right. Well, I mean, whether you are whatever side of the thing, whatever side of the
coin
game you're on, whatever. Our president was and is a real estate guy. That's what he's knows the most of. So I think that that's always going to be a very interesting thing moving past November, as far as like, especially commercial, because I think right now when you have over 5,000 businesses that are not coming back, that number, like you said, that's a huge number, because there are, how many jobs were lost there, how much taxes that these businesses were paying are lost now to the city. And how large were some of these companies? He didn't really go into that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
Could have been 50, 60 people, 100 people, 200 people. A 200 person business is a big business, but it's not a huge business, right?
Yeah.
200 people, but that's 200 jobs. You know what I mean? So those are big numbers if you take that into account. I also think that the what was I saying? The market itself in real estate is going to open up for people that have been looking to start businesses. So they know that because people are moving out, and the market is going to probably want somebody in there at some point, even at a lesser rent. They're going to have to lower some rents to get people back in, because that's a lot of real estate that's going to be vacant. I would say that a lot of businesses that have maybe wanted to be in New York might now be able to go to New York on a positive note for New York, right? So like if you have a small company of 100 employees that are in New Jersey and maybe a little bit, 20, 30 miles into New Jersey, that always wanted to be in New York because they're sort of like a New York kind of a business, but they can't afford to be in New York. Well, now they might be able to move their businesses into New York if they actually did a little research and try to find some properties.
Yeah, it's nice to look at the positive, for once.
Well, yeah,
that's all we hear is the negative now. But yeah, on a positive note, I mean, it's an opportunity for people to move into New York. You're right. Without a doubt, it's a positive thing to look at. I mean, there's so many factors. What I see on the commercial side is, because I deal with a lot of the commercial side of the business, in terms of retail, leasing, sales, but majority on the leasing side, we're looking at companies that have thrown leases out that were in the middle of lease negotiations for expanding their location. They threw them out the window. They're looking to not expand now. I mean, it all depends, of course, what are they medical? Are they, are they a daycare, so on and so forth. I mean, there's so many different industries, but just, on the overall, I mean, majority of them are not even looking to expand now, let alone opening up a new business, for the first time.
Right.
So that's, that's in the current. What I am happy to see is that I have had more inquiries on the commercial side of the business, more people looking to, at least go look for new locations. So that is a plus. March, April, May, June, July was really, really, really dead.
Yeah.
Not even getting leads, type of dead. But now I'm getting calls, having showings, which is amazing thing. I love to see it.
Yeah.
Because, it's just a sign of health in the market. So I like to see it.
And, it's not just New York and it's other places. I think there's a big shift going on in the country. Like I just read that I think it was over 600,000 people have moved out of LA in the last 7 or 8 months.
This has definitely been coming though, John. One of the things that, since I was 18 and really got into real estate, because one of the things that got me in was the whole owning real estate aspect, which we kind of touched upon a few times. But I've been doing research on where the best renting, where to own the best rental assets and so on and so forth. And people have notoriously and historically over the last several years been moving south anyway.
Right.
Florida, Texas, North Carolina, the big markets. Those markets have been vastly expanding. Like in those areas.
In Nashville area.
Exactly, Tennessee. That's another one. I mean, these markets were already on a high pace, high rapid growth.
Yeah.
So, this COVID actually even pushed it further along.
Right. Just much faster. And it's also just much more noticeable because it's, when you see 10, there's photos of seeing 10 moving trucks on a weekend in
Yeah.
one block, that kind of like shows you something. But in LA, I mean, there are even some big people like, like Joe Rogan, moved his show out. He's off of Texas,
Mhm.
with all his employees. If Ben Shapiro, I don't know if you follow Ben Shapiro, but Ben Shapiro just announced like about 2 days ago, maybe even yesterday, that he's moving his show. That he's been in LA his whole life, but he just moved. And he's gonna move to Nashville. He's moving his whole business to Nashville.
Mhm.
Over 100 employees. I think they have 200 employees worldwide, or because they have
Mhm.
employees that work remotely. But he's moving everybody. So yeah, and I think Matt made a point here about that. Yeah, many of the office spaces and firms predicting. Yeah, so I think that's the commercial real estate is going to be filled by smaller tenants, and I think it's going to be a good thing. Places with low tax rates and regulations, absolutely, all that is. And I think people are
Exactly.
also becoming, this whole COVID thing kind of made people just like have to look, right? Because
Yeah,
now,
for a lot of people, you're right, and that's going back to the whole New Yorkers moving into New Jersey
yeah, they
topic.
just
There's
started
so
looking.
many, and for everyone watching, you could just see all of there's so many factors that play into the market. Because there is a market. That's another thing. I mean, some people don't really believe there's a market and just believe their home is worth $1 million because they raise their whole family in it. But there's a market, and we have to follow the market, and there's so many intricate details that play a role.
Yeah. And I think also a lot of people during this time have been home. So they were forced with the idea of looking,
Mm.
like, because when you're in New York, and I grew up in New York, right? So, and I worked in New York, all my jobs were in New York. I played all the clubs when I was out. I was acting in New York. I did all the running around. When you're running around, you don't have time to sit and you go, where can I move to?
Yeah.
You're running around. You got no time. You think about it like in passing, but you're just too much on the go. And when this kind of hit, now you're home. Now you're kind of thinking. And I think a lot of people started realizing and doing the numbers and being like, if we moved, see that water? You see that building right there? If we move there, we're going to pay 50% less than if we lived here, and I think that's a huge, huge thing for people, which is fascinating. I think I love that stuff. So, yeah. So, Mark, as always, it is always a pleasure having you come in. You're kind of like my monthly real estate guy. That if that's okay, if I can call you that,
Absolutely.
to come in and give us like where we are and what's happening and what have you been working on, and we'll do it again, of course, for October. And yeah, I appreciate you doing this, and thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. You take care, man.
Have a good one, John.
Yep, you too. Take care. Awesome. Yeah. So, Mr. Mark, always great to have him here. I wanted to just take a little minute on something different after the show. I want to talk about some of the things. I do a lot of reading. I don't know if people know that about me, but they probably think I can't read, which is fine too. But I actually do read. And what I do is I read about 4 books at a time because it's just like how I like my brain to work. I sometimes think that I want to read something, and that's a funny book. This is more of an educational book. This is just a book about finance or whatever. And I kind of put them all together. So right now I'm reading 5 books, and I thought, you know what? I'm just going to show these books what I'm working on. If anybody has any questions on them, you can always just message me. Why am I doing this so much? All right. So first thing that I'm reading right now that I'm almost done with is I'm reading this, which is called Life After Google, which is by George Gilder, who's a futurist, technology futurist. He predicted the microchip was going to be a huge thing. He gave it to Ronald Reagan, and he said this little thing is gonna. And Reagan was like, "Why is that? What is that?" And and of course, microchip was amazing. He's written 19 books. This is his latest book called Life After Google. He wrote a book called Life After Television, where in the book he predicted the that in the future we'll have a device that we'll carry around, that in it'll have our messages, it'll have all our information, and it'll show us videos and It was a little box. He predicted that 14 years before the iPhone. So he talked about that. He also predicted Netflix, streaming, all this stuff. And here he's predicting some stuff about the blockchain and how Google and all these other major things are actually on their way, not on their way out, but just being challenged. Great book. I'm almost done with that one. Now I'm also reading this one. This is just a fun book. This is Letters by Groucho. I don't know if anybody's a Groucho fan, but I'm a dork. I love Groucho. I love the Marx Brothers, and especially Groucho. And I've read almost everything. I have read a version of this version, but I had it on my shelf, but I don't know where it is exactly. It's in one of my boxes or something. But this one has more letters in it, and it's just hilarious letters from Groucho to people. I think everyone should read this if you want to laugh, because he didn't take anything seriously. It didn't matter who it was challenging him. He was always going to just challenge them by writing them a really, really wise ass letter. And a lot of them didn't really get it, which was even more hilarious. I just started this book today, as a matter of fact, because it just came in the mail. It's a book about this guy who's an attorney, and he basically is very into asking questions. And asking the right questions and how to communicate using questions. And I was really fascinated. Somebody told me about this book either on a show or after a show, and I can't remember, and I feel horrible that I don't remember, but I'll go back and eventually get it. But anyway, I bought it right on the spot when they were talking about it, and I just started it. I'm only at the 2 or 3 pages in. So that should be very interesting, because I like to ask questions, especially during this show. I thought that might give me some insight. I'm reading Joy Villa's book that just came out called Kick-Ass Conservative. Joy Villa has been on my show, my last interview show, and hopefully she'll come on this show as well at some point. This is actually a really great Trey Gowdy. Yeah. Was that you that told me about that, Sean? I don't know if it was you, but do you remember who actually told me about the book? Maybe it was on a show and I can't remember who it was. But anyway, Joy Villa, she's been promoting this book right now. And of course I have he's really great. I'm really excited to get ready. I started just reading the inside part, but see, signature, Joy Villa, signed copy. And then this is just a fun book that I've read like a billion times because I love it. It's a John Steinbeck. I mean, my book is a little bit, I think it's an original book from 1940 something. And it's John Steinbeck, The Pearl. This is a great, great, great little read. It's not a big book, but if you love, if you're an actor or any type of performer, Trisha, yes, that's right, Trisha, that's right, on the other show that I do called Can We Talk? That's right. She actually recommended. Okay, great. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So anyway, John Steinbeck, if you're an actor, if you're a director, if you're a writer, read The Pearl by John Steinbeck, because it's the imagery in it is so amazing. And it's just a great, great read. And I recommend it to everybody. So that's really currently what I'm reading on right now. This would be, this is going to be probably gone in another, I don't know, 2 weeks maybe, because it takes me a little bit of time to get through some of these. I'll do a couple pages here and a couple pages there. So maybe 3 weeks, actually, to be honest, on some of them, not the John Steinbeck book. That I'll read that in a sitting. But anyway, that's what we're doing. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Thank you all, everybody here, everybody. And really fascinating stuff. I showed that video, and I didn't want to show about the New York stuff, all the negative stuff, but it was really just a real estate piece that I wanted to highlight, but I couldn't figure out how to just chop up the YouTube video, or it was not even a YouTube video, it was from a CNN thing. And I couldn't really figure that out. So I'm not doing, so I couldn't do that. But don't have anything else. But so folks, thank you very much. I will be back on Thursday. My show is Monday, Thursday. And on Thursday, I have Monet Bailey is going to be on the show, and she is the founder of an organization of an entertainment company called Ivy Entertainment, and they do great events all over the place. And she's also an artist herself and a singer, and so I'm really looking forward to that conversation, which is going to be on Thursday. And then after our conversation, I'm going to have a whole other half an hour of dialogue that I'm setting up right now. And stay tuned for that, because that's going to be a lot of fun. So, all right, folks, thank you very much. See ya. And as always, peace.